that goes into our training and service standards and things like that. And, acknowledging our guests. You say hi when they walk in and say thank you when they leave. Answering the phone within 3 rings so our guests aren't hearing, 20 rings in the background wondering who's going to answer that phone.
Sure.
These little things that may not make a difference in the moment, but, when we have our employees who transfer throughout our county also, if someone moves from one area of the county to another area of the county, they can work for another one of our concepts or locations, and they know that the guest service and quality is going to be the same.
Can you tell me what was Brigantine's, tip structures? How were you managing them before TipHaus? What did that look like over there at the Brigantine restaurant?
Yeah, it was all over the board, to be honest with you. And it was not in a necessarily bad way, but since 1969, new concepts being open, and we kind of get in these little bubbles of this is our restaurant here, and maybe the general manager had been there for 7, 8, 10 years. And they work in their own little environment. So what we found over time was like, wow, our percentages are way off. And majority of our restaurants were tipping off of the tips that were in your hand. So if a server had $100 in their hand, then they would tip off that amount to their busser, to their expo. A lot of our restaurants didn't tip out the host. So we're like, but some of ours did. And so how is it fair if a host works at this one location and then goes to school into another demographic and wants to transfer to another location, but they don't get tipped out over there? So those were the things that were really spearheading this. Is we were growing to say, hey, how can we be consistent with the tip out percentages and policies? So that's where we started poking around a little bit, and our IT guy Jeremy had been reaching out. So we were coming up with just kind of a one solution. The challenge of it all was to say, okay, let's take all these jumbled up tip out policies and be able to put them in one nice little package to where everyone would be happy. So what we started doing was running spreadsheets and saying, okay, if this is what they're used to making and we were to implement this percentage, is it going to be pretty close to what they were making before? So we kind of came up with this happy medium of what we were doing. It worked out really well for some restaurants because they had a really high tip out percentage and this was kind of lowering it. And for others where they were really low before, they were going to have to pick up the pieces on the other end. So was it unicorns and rainbows all the way through? Not necessarily, but it wasn't as bad as we were anticipating it to be, where we're creatures of habits and people fell into place pretty quickly to where they understood the consistency side of it. And I think the biggest thing is it's our labor dollar. We're in minimum wage is increasing. It seems like every day here. And, so the servers and staff they're making good money, and we've had conversations like that. And what I love about TipHaus also is I can pull it up and I can actually show a server like, hey, here's your average. This is your credit card tips. And you're making, X amount on average. That's pretty good money. And it's nice to have it right there at our fingertips. But back to your question, labor is a big part of what we want to control. It's our biggest controllable cost. It's hard to combat. You can't continuously increase prices every single day when minimum wage increases. So that was tough. I think being able to have more efficient checkouts in the sense that our servers aren't spending 15, 20 minutes on their actual checkout, lining up all these, credit card tip out slips and all that kind of stuff, entering their tips in the computer. It's all based off of sales. And so checkouts have gone from, 15, 20 minutes on a busy night down to 2 minutes, and other technology with like Toast has helped us out with that as well. So that's a big savings for us, that we're not fumbling with tip envelopes. We're not having to sort these into some file cabinet that get lost later. And then the next day someone comes in, we're having to spend our valuable time as managers trying to locate a tip that might've been, swept under a carpet somewhere. So it sounds silly, but with as much as things are changing in California, that was probably the biggest thing with trying to fight that labor monster for us.